Welcome to another Farming Simulator 19 assistance / guide to video with me, MrSealyp. Okay, so what's all this landscaping business about then? I know there have been quite a few videos out on this already from PC perspective, and a couple of people have done Xbox ones, I think. I know people were using controllers on PC and people got confused and thought they were out on consoles, but anyway, this is from a PS4 perspective, from specifically my perspective, on the new landscaping tool, what it can do, pitfalls, things to watch out for, pros and cons, that kind of thing. Now I'm on Ravenport. I'm down at field 22. I think I'm on field 22 or 21, which I'm using in my Ravenport Let's Play. The reason I've picked this one is because I went to put my small cow pasture on this in my Let's Play, thinking it's fairly flat, and it looks fairly flat. And to my horror, it turned out it wasn't as flat as it actually looked. So that's why I've picked this field, because it kind of links into what I was doing on my Let's Play anyway. So without further ado, we'll have a look in the menu. If we scroll, no, this isn't the menu we want, is it? Of course it isn't. This is the menu we want. We have now got a spade, shovel, whichever you'd rather. I think spades are square-ended and shovels are rounded. It doesn't really matter. But anyway, at the end we've now got this one here that says Start Landscaping. This comes with a warning. Please, please, please be incredibly careful. In fiddling around with this, I got caught out. You'll see why in a minute. And it's all very exciting. What I have done is made sure that my menu is open. You are going to need your help menu open to start off with, without any shadow of a doubt. You've got two icons in the middle at the top that say sculpting and painting. The sculpting one is how you change everything. The painting one is how you add your textures and various different things like that on. Bottom right hand corner it says brush size and it says brush strength. We'll have a look at all that in a minute. In the middle of the screen you've got a nice little green dome. We can zoom in and out on that dome to have a look, which is absolutely fantastic, but you don't have to just have it on dome. We're going to start off on the sculpting settings and we'll have a look at the painting settings in a moment. Now this is the warning. Before you start doing this, before you start playing around with it on your Let's Play or on your map that you're using, I would suggest set up a separate map entirely. Open up a new one, a new save game, and play with the tool in that first. Have a play around. Don't do it on your map, not on the one you're playing on currently, because there's no undo button. So one thing I'm quite surprised about, there's no undo function. It says back, that just takes you, press circle now, that takes me back to this menu here. If I come back in again, anything I've done is still there. And that's a worry, because as with all the other placeables and the original landscaping that we had, as you place things it costs you money, and before the realism people start shouting and yelling at me and telling me we asked for realism, etc, etc, I personally didn't ask for anything. Before you start telling me that in the comments, regardless of that, I totally understand. To do any of this landscaping, to do any landscaping whatsoever, costs money. I also fully understand that if you want to put a road in or paths or gravel, it all costs money. I totally get that as well. And as far as I'm aware, Giants have tweaked all of those settings for the update. So with this out, those have been tweaked, those have been adjusted, and it doesn't cost you as much, but it does still cost you money. Without an undo button, if you're playing around with this and you make a mistake, to correct that mistake costs you more money. You can't just back out of that. I honestly thought there'd be a setting where you could try, raise, lower, whatever you're going to do, and then it would say, confirm. You can confirm you're going to do that. It doesn't give you that option, so just be very, very wary. So, starting off then, top of that menu it says raise. Now I've got it on circle at the moment, and this looks like a fairly flat field, but when you come up to this end it does dip down a little bit. But if I wanted to raise a bit, if I want to raise it, I press X, it changes the texture automatically and it raises my ground up, which is quite cool. But you notice the money's going down, not huge amounts, it's not horrendous. Now you look as well and you think, oh, it's really blocky though, that looks awful. Don't worry, there's a tool for that. I'm really impressed with this. I think it's brilliant. It's a very, very clever feature. It's an awesome addition to the game. And like I've always said with this game, it gives you options. You don't have to use it. If you don't want to use it, don't use it. If you want to make a few minor adjustments, level a little bit of something out before placing something, it's the perfect tool for doing it, but definitely have a play around with it. So I've raised a little bit. Now, if I've raised it like that and think, oh, that's too high, I don't want it that high, you can't undo that. And I'll show you again. If I press circle, phew, I've undone it. No, I haven't. There's no undo function. So just bear that in mind. If I want to go back down a bit because I've gone too high, I now need to do lower, which is square. I can lower that back down, but it's costing me more money to do that. So you've got to remember that. Just be very, very careful when you're doing any of these things, that it's going to cost you money whatever you do. Not huge amounts, but it is going to cost you money, and it will soon add up if you're trying to landscape an entire farmyard. So think about that very carefully. You might want to do it in stages. So we've got raise, back and lower. Then it says smooth, and this is pretty cool because we've got these edges that are quite sharp now. If I press on the smooth, which is triangle, it kind of smooths out. You've still got the hump that you've originally asked for, but what it's done, it's nicely smoothing out those edges, making it a little bit tidier, a little bit neater, so your tractors and machinery aren't bouncing around all over the place when you might go up an incline. It just gradients them. Is it gradient? Yeah, isn't it? It adds a gradient in, so you've still got your hump in the middle, but it hasn't got the sharp edges on the sides. But again, it's cost you money. I'm not going to keep saying that, but let's just take it as read now. It's going to cost you money. What it's going to cost, we'll worry about that later on. Now, the next one down says flatten, and flatten's quite a cool one. Now, like I say, I thought this was a flat field. If I press flatten now, R1, that will flatten it down to a level. And you look and think, wow, okay, well, those bits around it, there's still a bit of a dip there, but if I now go next to that and press it, now weirdly enough, that's given me a square when I've got it set on circle. Don't know why, but anyway. Press R1 again, it will flatten the ground to that level now around it. So if I'm trying to place something and I want a flat piece of ground to place it on, the flattening, this is the tool I think I'm probably going to use the most. I'm going to be using the flattening tool to flatten out an area to put a placeable down. What you've got to then weigh up is, if you did your placeable straight out of the placeables menu and you did it from that menu, what's it going to cost you to place it? If you come in and flatten the area first and then place it, you know, it's the pros and cons of weighing up what's going to cost you more or less to do. So if I do it again, flatten there, maybe there. Now, as you can see at the back of this, because it's quite steep now here at the back, that's when I would then go back in if I wanted to and use my smooth tool to smoothen that ridge out. And you see now it's not as sharp and horrible. It's gradually adjusting that, giving me a nice smoother edge to that part of the field. I like that. That's very clever. It's brilliant. It is such a clever tool. You know, it kind of makes everyone an editor. Everyone can go in and fiddle around with their maps and change them and do whatever they want, provided you've got the money to do it. But then again, you can add that into your Let's Play, your storyline, whatever you're doing, to be included as part of you're raising money to landscape your plot of land before you start, or while you're doing it, or however you want to do it. It's entirely up to you. Or don't do it at all. Now, the next one down is L3. That's change landscaping mode. That's those two icons in the middle at the top. If I press L3, it goes from sculpting to painting, and when it goes to painting, it gives me another set of instructions, another set of controls. We're going to check on those in a minute, but anyway, we'll go back to sculpting. The next one down then says change modification shape. If I press R3, it gives me a square. Now that might be if you want to do paving, if you want to do a very straight road, if you want to do a placeable area to put a building on, you might want to use the square one rather than the round one. I would think if it was me, if I was trying to do a roadway, I'd probably want to use the round one to give me softer edges. If I wanted to do something like a platform to put a building on, I'd probably use the square one. But again, it's entirely up to you. So that's your change of modification shape. So I can go from the circle to a square, which is great. We'll get onto another setting that goes with that in a moment. Rotate camera, we kind of got anyway. You can move it around. Same as it always was with putting placeables down. Rotate your camera so you can see exactly where you want to put stuff. Move is with your left stick on PlayStation, and then you've got your camera zoom in and out, which is absolutely wonderful. The lower function can go lower than flat. It doesn't have to. If I press lower again now, I can give myself a hole in the ground if I want to, So my lower function will lower as well. It doesn't have to be, but like I said, be warned. Without an undo button, you could click on that by mistake, or you could drop it down a bit. It might not cost you a huge amount in the top right hand corner, but then you think, oh no, I didn't mean to do that. Then you've got to come back up again, which is going to cost you more money to bring it back up. So just bear it in mind. So right, what we'll do now is I'm going to do my L3 to change mode, and we're going to go to the painting mode. So top of that painting mode, it's got X, which says paint. What am I painting? Well, bottom right hand corner, it tells me a brush size, and it says ground type. I've got my back button again underneath paint, which it takes me out to the main menu again. It's not an undo button. Then it says switch painting type. So if I press my arrow on my D-pad, right on the D-pad, if I look at the bottom right hand corner, let's get onto a bit of ground where you can see it a bit easier. That's not too bad, I guess. Bottom right hand corner, there's a couple of concrete options. Then we've got like a dirt option, a couple of dirt options. There's a few different. There's a couple of grass ones available. So what I'm going to do very, very quickly is I'll leave it on square at the moment. We'll go back to the first one, which was, blimey, there's more than I thought. Right, that's right through to the end. We'll do one of each, and let's see what we've got. I think I had that one on first. So we've got this one here. Then I go to the next one, which is a little bit lighter. We've got this one here, which is kind of like a dirt gravel. It's kind of gravelly, I suppose. It looks a little bit gravelly, doesn't it? Come around onto it. Yeah, kind of a gravelly dirt road. Then we've got this one here, which is more of a sandy kind of muddy texture. We have got this one here, if I can get onto a spare bit. It's more of a mottled ground. That's kind of, yeah, I suppose that's somewhere between the two, isn't it, really? That's kind of sandy, that's a gravelly sand, that's more of a, yeah, dirt road, whatever you want to do. Then we've got a kind of semi-grass, semi-dirt texture. We've got a grass texture, one that's a bit more patchy kind of grass. Full-on grass. That one's quite a nice one. More of a kind of concrete effect. That's cool. That's like a stone, isn't it? I like that. Then we've got a greyer stone. And what else we got? That's full on sand, that one. Like a beachy type effect. What else we got? Oh, is that a slightly darker one? Yeah, there's just different shades. It's amazing. There's some really cool some cool stuff on here. That looks like, that's like wet sand, isn't it? Then a dark brown, blimey, there's more in than I thought. I think we're back to the original texture, aren't we? Yeah, back to the original we had. So we've got quite a few here to choose from. If we zoom out now, look at all those different ones. We've got a lot of different textures here. Now these can be used with the different tools. If you use the circular tool, and for example on here, if I put the circular one back on, let's go to back to sculpting. If I go to change landscaping, no modification shape, do the circle, I'll show you how to get smaller. But for example, on the sides of here, if I wanted to do it with a different, maybe a sand or a mud texture or something on the side of there, I can just add that on in sort of patches around the edge of the hole I've made. It really does give you a huge amount of options. I mean, a huge amount of options. It's brilliant. So you can get that broken ground effect. And I'll be honest, I was incredibly sceptical when this first came out, that they were going to do this, and it came out on PC, and people were asking the question, will console get this? Will they get the same thing, or is it going to be a watered down version? This is brilliant. It works incredibly well. I don't know yet, it's early days. Is it going to cause game crashes if people try to over edit their maps? I honestly don't know at the moment. This is early days, it's just come out. All this video is doing is showing you the landscaping tool, the features available, and what you can do with it. What you then go on to do with it is entirely up to you. So we've got change modification shape. What have we got as well? Oh yeah, change landscaping mode takes us back. Modification shape takes us from circle to square. Rotate camera, etc. Now it says change radius. So with my right joystick, I can change the radius. So I can take this up bigger, bigger, bigger. So if I wanted to pave or grass a larger area, I can do much larger areas rather than just doing little small patches every now and again. Now that can be accessed. The actual menu for it shows you here on this particular menu. If I go back to the other one on sculpting, I can still with my right joystick take that up and down. I don't have to have it there in front of me saying you can do it. You can just do that on your joystick whenever you want to. And the same thing if you change the where are we? The shape, the modification shape to square. Same thing with that. We can go larger and smaller, right down to a small one. And in the bottom right hand corner where it says brush size, as I'm doing that, that's what changes there. You've got from a 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, all the way up, and you can go, you know, I think up to 20 is the biggest at the moment, isn't it? Yeah, 20. But when you zoom out, 20 is a fair size. You're going to cover a big old area with that, especially if you're doing paving or areas for barns and that kind of thing. And then you've got your move and your camera zoom. Those things are exactly the same. Realistically, that's it. Those are your options available. But with that combination of options, like I say, if I wanted to do a concrete area to put, I don't know, whatever on, let's go to a grey. The gravelly one will do. That's left that on kind of a slant, but trying to get these to overlap and join up. Now, in two movements, I've done quite a big area there that I could put a placeable on. No problem whatsoever. Now, that isn't necessarily level at the moment, but it has worked it out on the landscape I've got. If I wanted to level that first, I'd probably want to level the ground, then put the texture down. If I then decided, well, I'd like to have a road leading up to that, I would probably switch over and put it on my round one. I just think it would probably be a better option. Take it right the way down. It might be a gravel road, it might be, you know, whatever you want. I might want to do a dirt one, like let's go just with a sandy one. Doesn't really matter, does it? Let's go with that. So if I swing it round with the circle on, and I might even want to make it a little bit smaller than that, I can keep my finger on it on X and then just drag it along. Now I might want to go a little bit, there we go, but it's very intuitive. It's very smooth, it works very, very nicely. You know, you can take it right the way down to your main road. Now there are certain areas it's not going to let you do. Areas of land you don't own, it's not going to let you landscape. You've got to own the land first before it's going to let you landscape on it. And that's the two menus. There's no more to the menus than that, but with those combinations you can do a multitude of stuff. If I press L1 now up on there, it just says toggle map size. Those are the two options available. You've got your sculpting menu, your painting menu. You change your modes, you change your ground type, you can raise it, you can lower it, you can smooth it out, you can, you know, it's brilliant. It really is very, very clever. I may well do, I know a lot of people have done them already, but kind of a tutorial for doing a placeable and all that kind of thing. This is just to look at it, see what's available, see what's here, and it's good. It is really very, very good indeed. I'm incredibly impressed with this. Like I say, harking back right to the very start, those warnings, just be careful, there's no undo button. You make a mistake, it's going to cost you money to undo that mistake. I think I started off on, what did I start off on? 1,102,016. I've got 1,095,709, so that's just cost me 7,000 to do. I did a bit of levelling, I raised a bit of ground, I lowered a bit of ground, I put each of these textures down, I put that double base, I put this bit down here. All of what I've done so far has only cost me 7,000. It's not hugely expensive to do, but just be careful. That's really the best thing I could say, just be incredibly careful. I hope you found this useful and informative. The instructions, the controls are fairly self-explanatory. And I would urge you absolutely go and set up a spare map and play around with them. We're all going to make mistakes. Everybody's going to. Anybody that goes on here and says they haven't made a mistake, they're an expert at it, they're lying. I'm sorry, that's just rubbish. We're all going to make mistakes. We're all going to press the wrong button at the wrong time. And like I say, without an undo button, that you can't just correct that instantly. Unless you're saving every time you do something, so that if you do make a mistake, you can come back out and go to the previous save game. That's an option. You could do that if you wanted to. But yeah, have a play around with it. It's a pretty cool thing. Build yourself a massive mound and have a farmhouse on top of it. Whatever you want to do, it's entirely up to you. I hope you found this useful and informative in some way, shape or form. If you have, give us a like. If you don't subscribe yet, please do. If you want to leave a comment, feel free. If you want to share this video, then please be my guest. Whatever you should choose to do. Thanks for watching.